We are often reminded to always shed light on more than one side of a story, but for some reason, Dragon Ball fans forget all about this simple concept when looking at the Cell Saga, the plot contrivances, what's so special about Cell and his cartoonishly dumb motivation, and blah blah blah. Dude, it's okay to question things, but have you actually watched the show? It's as if you just read the episode summaries on Wikipedia and then decided to criticize the whole thing. The Cell Saga is actually one of the best written arcs, not just in Dragon Ball Z, but in the entire Dragon Ball franchise. In my opinion, it was the last great arc, along with the Frieza and Saiyan sagas. Many believe that DBZ should have ended with Cell Saga, and I share this view, though I personally think the Namex saga had a better ending, with the lower class Saiyan destroying the biggest oppressor of his race. But what's in question here is just the quality of the Android and Cell Saga as a whole. What I appreciated about it was the introduction of new concepts that added depth to the Dragon Ball mythos, such as time travel, as well as its expansion of existing concepts in a fun and engaging way, like new variations of the Super Saiyan transformation. It also further developed the character arcs of Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan, and even Goku. However, in my opinion, what makes this the best the series has to offer in terms of storytelling is the fact that it's the darkest saga in Dragon Ball. You may think Goku Black may things seem more bleak, and I agree with that. It's almost like early One Piece, where the main characters try different ways to defeat the villain, but they still can, each time. The Mafuba was learned because Zamasu was immortal, but he managed to escape. Beerus erased Zamasu, but nothing changed. Vegeta trained in the Room of Spirit and Time, but Black got even stronger at the end of the fight. Future Trunks got a new transformation, though he was still weaker than Black. Vegeta was brought back, however his time limit prevented him from defeating merged Zamasu. Trunks getting another power-up that finally allowed him to overcome merged Zamasu's immortality, only for the Kai to return as Zamasu's will, and completely mess up the multiverse of the future timeline, which then got erased by Zeno. It's like anything Goku and the others did was all in vain, and they only prolonged the inevitable. But I've gone on a tangent for long enough. You just don't realize how somber the Cell Saga is, because you haven't looked at it from the antagonist's perspective. We realized most of the Red Ribbon interaction took place in the original Dragon Ball, but did continue afterwards. It is seen in the Android Saga as well, but it all began with the destruction of the Red Ribbon Army when Goku was still a child. Upon discovering the existence of the Dragon Balls, Commander Red was determined to obtain them at all cost. However, Goku thwarted his plans and completely dismantled the criminal organization. Only one man survived, Dr. Gero, the organization's most brilliant scientific mind. He was even acknowledged by Bulma's father, who's something of a scientist himself, as the world's foremost scientific genius. Dr. Gero was responsible for creating all the androids. However, there was a significant problem. Goku not only destroyed the Red Ribbon base, but also killed many soldiers, including Dr. Gero's son. From that moment on, he vowed to take revenge on Goku and went into hiding. His sole focus was on avenging Goku, leading him to isolate himself completely, and his first act was to abduct a pair of teenage twins and conduct scientific experiments to transform their bodies into cyborgs. Those two teenagers endured years of testing, likely suffering greatly throughout the whole thing. Their names was Lapis and Lazuli, who would eventually become known as Androids 17 and 18. The androids shattered the belief that the Super Saiyan transformation was invincible and all-powerful. Even more astonishing was that these formidable androids were created by a human, one of the weakest races in the universe, managed to produce beings capable of defeating the legendary Super Saiyan. It's no wonder Vegeta was infuriated by them. The presence of the androids pushed the Saiyans to refine and enhance the Super Saiyan transformation beyond its usual limits. The initial advancements were grades 2 through 4, but they were still incomplete compared to the final outcome. Despite everything I just said, Dr. Gero faced two issues he couldn't solve alone. While he succeeded in modifying the bodies of two teenagers, he couldn't change and reprogram their mind. They remained rebellious, and there's also the fact that they are much stronger than Dr. Gero, and he knew they would eventually kill him if he didn't intervene. The second problem was Dr. Gero's age. By the time Goku was a child, Gero was already elderly, making it inevitable that he would die of old age before seeing his plan succeed. To address these issues, he initiated two parallel projects. The first aimed to transfer his mind into a robot's body, allowing him to live long enough to see his plan realized. To illustrate how grim this was, Android 19 removed Dr. Gero's brain near the end of his life and placed it inside Android 20's body. The second was the Cell Project, project. A long-term plan, since Android 17 and 18 remained problematic, the bio-android Cell symbolized the Z-Fighters' past coming back to haunt them, and Cell had access to all the Z-Fighters' techniques because of their DNA within him, making him the ultimate challenge for them. In my view, Cell is the best villain. He embodied everything the Z-Fighters had encountered so far. Moreover, this series is frequently seen as overly simplistic, avoiding risks with its plot and characters. However, Cell emerges as a surprisingly multifaceted character, and as previously noted, possessing the cells of all the Z-Fighters. He not only inherits their power, but various personality traits from them. These include Vegeta's ego, Frieza's fine politeness, minus the sarcasm, King Piccolo's sadism, and the Saiyer's thirst for challenge. Ironically, this diversity becomes his undoing as he repeats the same errors he condemned the Z-Warriors for. Cell was arguably the Z-Warriors' most difficult opponent, and not just because he was strong, but also because he was strategic. A rare trait for a Dragon Ball villain. He even not only made Goku give up, but is the only villain to successfully kill him. What makes this part of DBZ even scarier is that you have people in the world who can essentially create the perfect life form, like cars, but with even higher potential, who can come back at any point even stronger, as we've seen with Cell Max. That's not to say that the Cell Saga didn't have any problems. Let's address the biggest one of them by far, the downfall of Gohan's character. Chi-Chi's intense desire for a bright future for her son ultimately hindered Gohan. Her vision became so overbearing, given the extraordinary powers possessed by the Z-Fighters. They could easily attain lucrative employment opportunities. How does Chi-Chi fail to grasp that, even on their worst days? Saiyans can lift planets effortlessly. Simply working in construction would provide enough wealth for a life of luxury. Consequently, Gohan developed a penchant for pacifism, shaping the adult Gohan, which is disliked by much of the fandom. A situation largely attributed to Toriyama. Blame Chi-Chi. Yes, Toriyama righted this, but this could happen in any story. Another one of the issues is how Dr. Gero obtained a functional sample of Frieza's DNA. When Frieza came to Earth, Trunks vaporized him, and on the topic of this fight, how did Trunks get such amazing training that the 50 times multiplier of Super Saiyan was enough to make him far stronger than Mecha Frieza, whom is supposedly stronger than non-Mecha, and then have future Gohan cap out so low, so late in his life? Now, involving the time travel aspect of the series, this is where things become truly problematic. In Trunks' timeline, Goku succumbed to a heart virus, leading to chaos ensuing thereafter, and despite roughly 14 to 7 years of battling, Gohan remains disappointingly weak. So Trunks decides to go back in time to alter the past, but if his actions were to change his own future, it implies that once he succeeds sufficiently in the past, his memories would be rewritten. But he couldn't have foreseen that. He's not that astute. Essentially, he's perpetuating a cycle. As in this universe, Goku survives and their Trunks will never perform the same favor for another universe. You can answer all these questions yourselves in the comments if you want to, but that's not the point of this video, and if you liked it, consider leaving a like on it and subscribing to the channel. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.